Kenneth Kneip, you're an elder at New Covenant Presbyterian Church in the Casa Linda neighborhood of Dallas, but we've not seen you at the North Texas Presbyterian meetings in 2017. What's been going on with you, brother?
Well, I've experienced some serious health issues. October 31st of 2016, I was admitted into Baylor White Rock Hospital, and with extremely high blood pressure. And then later on that week, November 3rd, I was diagnosed with kidney failure.
So you've been on dialysis now for how long?
I've been on dialysis since November 6th of 2016. I usually go, I'm required to go 3 times a week. I spent 2 weeks in the hospital recovering and undergoing dialysis in the hospital, and then on November 19th I started dialysis as an outpatient at a clinic in Mesquite.
So right away they put you on dialysis?
Yes, right away. Yes, it was my kidney function. My nephrologist or my kidney doctor stated that my kidney function was about 5%.
So it's pretty urgent then?
Yeah, it was. It was very urgent. What had happened was I was admitted into the hospital on October 31st, as I said earlier. Then my blood pressure was the main concern that they had, and that was stabilized, and I was released Thursday of that week, which would have been about the 2nd or the 3rd of November. And then I was not able to spend even 24 hours at home. My blood pressure crashed. It went from the high extreme down to a low extreme. And then my wife Brenda rushed me back to the emergency room at Baylor White Rock Friday of that week, and I was admitted into the hospital. And when the cardiologist was checking to see if I had a heart attack, he said no, he's not having a heart attack. His kidneys have failed. So I was admitted into the hospital, and then early Monday morning on November 6th, I had a catheter placed into my chest for dialysis, and then as soon as the surgery was over with, I was taken straight to dialysis in the hospital, and I spent, as I said, about 2 weeks in the hospital undergoing dialysis and trying to make a recovery.
So that first 2 weeks, were you on dialysis every day then?
No, it was every other day, but right now I'm actually in the clinic. I'm on dialysis for 4 hours, 3 times a week, but in the hospital they started me out gradually. I started out with 2 hours the first day, then 3 hours the second day, and then I worked up to 4 hours the third day.
If kidney failure qualifies you for disability, is that correct?
Oh, yes, it does. My medical diagnosis is end-stage renal disease, and that because of that, it automatically qualifies you for disability.
How long did it take you to get on disability after this happened?
Well, as you know, with the government, you have to be patient when you're dealing with the government, and it takes a while, but usually it takes about 5 to 6 months after you've been diagnosed with end-stage renal disease before you're able to receive disability.
So being on disability, you're not able to work at all?
I could probably work a little bit, but not affect my disability income. But the way my dialysis schedule works out, and just the way that I feel after dialysis, I'm not working at all right now. I mean, of course, I'm helping my wife with some household chores, what I can do, but as far as actually getting a another job. I'm not able to do that at the moment.
For those of us that may not know, what was your work before this happened?
I spent the last 20 years as an interpreter for the deaf. Started that. I became certified with the state when I was 21 years old. I've done that for the last 20 years. My undergrad degree from Dallas Baptist University is Bachelor of Arts and Science with a major in English and education.
Okay, and you've been doing some substitute teaching?
Yeah. Formerly, I was an MDiv student at Westminster Theological Seminary, Dallas campus. I'm probably about 30 or 40 hours away from my degree for my MDiv. I did a pastoral internship at New Covenant Presbyterian Church here in Dallas, in the Casa Linda area neighborhood. I was in the process when my kidneys failed. I was in the process of looking into some alternative certification programs to get my teaching certificate, but then my kidneys failed, and that's been put on hold for right now. And we'll see what the Lord has in store for us. My wife actually has a master's degree from the University of Arkansas in early childhood education, and she has been working in that field for the last 15, 16 years.
How much would it take in terms of courses or time or whatever to get your certificate?
I'm not exactly sure. I mean, I was still looking into that when I went into the hospital, but my understanding of it is the program is not set up like a college program as you would see like at a traditional university. My understanding of it is you would apply through like an educational service center, and you would take classes there, and that would get you ready to take your teacher certification test with the state of Texas.
So it's not like so many semester hours in a college?
No. Not that I'm aware of. It's more like you just take classes in teaching methodology, and then maybe bone up in your subject area, and that's about it from what I understand. I mean, I think it's very from what I understand, you could probably do it in about a year, 6 months to a year, something like that.
What about to finish out the seminary degree with the 30 or 40 hours you lack? Would that take, 2 or 3 semesters?
Yeah, it would. There's a possibility of enrolling at Reformed Theological Seminary Dallas campus, or actually RTS Virtual, which is their online program. But kind of with the state of my health right now, that's going to be in the future.
So you're available like Monday, Wednesday, and Friday to do something, but you don't have a whole lot of energy. Is that correct?
Yeah. Usually, probably the mornings after dialysis, which would be like Wednesday, Friday, Sunday. I'm still a little weak, but I mean, I can usually get out and do things late morning, lunchtime, afternoon, that type of thing.
Most people think of kidney failure and dialysis as an end-of-life experience. Is that what you contemplate for yourself?
No, actually, no, I do not contemplate that at all as an end-of-life experience. I'm 41 years old. I'm very young compared to a lot of people that are on dialysis. I'm in good health except for my kidneys. My nephrologist wanted me to get on the kidney transplant list, and I was able to do that April of 2017. I started the process and meeting with UT Southwestern, which is my transplant clinic, met with them, went through an exhaustive screening process with them, with their nephrologist, with their transplant coordinators, met with their social worker so she could test and evaluate me to make sure that I'm of the right frame of mind to do all this. And that went through several appointments in March, and in April I was approved to be put on the kidney transplant list through UT Southwestern.
What is the process of finding a donor?
Well, there's two options that you could look at. The best one would be what's called a living donor, and this is usually a friend, relative that would be willing to undergo the evaluation process and donate a kidney to you. I actually do have a living donor candidate right now, and that person is undergoing the evaluation process right now. But usually, I think the vast majority of transplants come from cadaver donors, and that's an exhaustive process too. You have to go. The kidney has to be almost perfect for you. I mean, there could be a few little things that might be that the transplant team might overlook, but I mean, it has to be, from what I understand, 90 to 95% of a match for you. I mean, if it's 100, that would be great. And whenever a person dies, but this is basically what it is. I mean, a person dies and donates their organs, and the organs are evaluated, and if everything matches up according to the criteria that they have, then they'll call you up and say, hey, we do have a kidney for you, and can you get to the hospital as soon as you can? And then that's usually how it works in a nutshell. Going back to the living donor, if everything goes well as far as the evaluation process goes, and the candidate is a match for you, it can be done in less than a year. But if you have a cadaver donor, it's usually about, on average, a 4 to 5 year wait that you're on the kidney transplant list.
Wow, just not enough kidneys to go around then.
No, not really. I mean, UT Southwestern, my team was basically, they do about a transplant a week. So they do about 50 or a little over 50 a year. That's what they average. But there's other hospitals here in Dallas Metroplex area that have transplant centers. So I mean, it depends on if the organ is a match, who it goes to.
Well, you talked about this a little bit, but what is your daily life like now, apart from dialysis?
Well, I have actually, I mean, you would think that I would not have a full life, but actually I do. I mean, other than, going through dialysis 4 hours, 3 times a week, I mean, my life has not changed that much. I mean, granted, I'm not able to work, but, and this is the real key I would like for everybody to understand about dialysis patients, is that I mean, whatever you may have heard or read, I mean, we're still very active and lead very full lives. I mean, it's just that we can't do some things. I mean, I'll give you an example. The majority of dialysis patients have what is called a fistula, and this is a vein and artery sewn together in your arm or your leg to give access for dialysis. And one of the things about a fistula is with that particular arm, you're not really able to do a lot of manual labor or heavy activity. So that, and I mean, like for me, I really enjoy doing yard work. And since I've had my fistula put in, I've not been able to do that. I've had to, rely on the deacons of my church to help me out with that. Kevin Hamilton and Steve Young are two deacons of our church, and they have been really good about doing that type of thing for me as far as yard work, mowing the yard, weed eating, and trimming hedges and trees and that type of stuff. I mean, they've been really good about that, and also just but other than that, I mean, if you didn't know, if we've never said that, if we don't tell you that we're on dialysis, there's really no way you could tell. I mean, we're able to, get around and do things just like everybody else.
Now, you were a Sunday school teacher at your church before this happened. What's happened to that?
Well, I'm on hiatus right now. My session knows that I'm not able to really do that right now, and my class has actually joined up with another class for the time being. But I do hope to eventually start teaching again when I start feeling a little bit better and everything.
And you've been able to go to Sunday services?
Yes. There's been a few times where I've had to stay home because I do go to dialysis on Saturday afternoons, and just depending on how much fluid they have to take out of me, it affects how I feel the next morning.
How are you handling this challenge spiritually?
Well, I think I'm in a season right now that of learning patience. Just a lot of things that I've had to do since I've been on dialysis, especially dealing with Social Security, getting Medicare, getting disability. I've had to be real patient dealing with that. With dialysis, you have tubes hooked up to you, into your arm or into your chest, depending if you're still using a catheter or if you have a fistula, and you just have to be real patient. I mean, that's kind of where I'm at right now. I think also too, it's I've been forced to. I mean, I don't know if forced is the right word, but I've come to rely a lot more on the gospel and the implications that it has in my life, and it has in all of our lives right now.
Well, that's good. Did you experience any warning signs before this happened?
Yes, but I didn't know it was a warning sign. Since that my end-stage renal disease diagnosis, I've also been diagnosed with hypertensive retinopathy, and that is a condition in your eyes in which your blood vessels basically blow up, and you become very temporary. You become temporary blind, I would say, not totally, but that was going on several weeks before I went into the hospital. It continued on with into the hospital, but I'm at a point right now to where my vision has greatly improved. I mean, it's not where it was before it happened, but I'm able to drive. I'm able to read, but it's just my vision is just a little off right now.
What do you think you might have done differently to avoid this or minimize its consequences?
You know, I don't know if anything could really have been done about it. I probably should have went to the doctor a little bit more, and of course, you know, been on some high blood pressure medication. But other than that, that's probably the main thing.
Have you lost much weight since this happened?
I have. In the when I was discharged from the hospital, I would say lost at least 30 pounds, maybe more. If you remember, I was kind of a big guy, but I'm not so big anymore. I mean, and also too, I have to kind of keep my weight down a little bit with dialysis. I'm on a fluid restriction. I can only have probably half of the liquid fluid I used to be able to drink before, and I'm also on a low sodium, low potassium diet with the appropriate medication.
Well, sounds good, Kenneth. It's good to visit with you. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Dave. I appreciate it.